Welcome back, pod people, to a brand new episode of Cinema d'Amore. I'm your host, Justin Morgan. I'm here with
Chuck,
and we're doing comedies now. That's this month's theme, comedies. And I wanted to start with something classic. Well, I guess I didn't really want to start with something classic, but we do everything chronologically.
Yeah.
I wanted an older comedy because I felt like my favorite comedies are probably mostly 90s, 2000s. Like, that's probably the sweet spot for comedies for me. So I wanted to go back farther, and I didn't know necessarily what to do. For a while, I was actually thinking about Annie Hall, and I went back even further. I went back to Some Like It Hot from 1950. I would say it's one of my favorite movies. I don't know exactly if I think it's the funniest movie. It's incredible how progressive it was at the time, but probably now would be highly offensive to people.
Yeah, it's got some interesting ideas.
I mean, if our old host was still on here, they would hate this movie, I guarantee it. Like, or they would love it. I guess I don't really ever know.
Yeah, you never know.
But yeah, I have the R1 Rabbit, which is an AI companion. And I thought since we don't have Jacob this week to give us a definition of the movie, I thought I would just ask this thing. How's that sound?
Go for it.
Tell me about the movie Some Like It Hot from 1950.
Let me think. Some Like It Hot is a classic American romantic comedy film released in 1959. Directed by Billy Wilder, the movie stars Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon in leading roles. The plot follows two musicians who witness a mob hit and disguise themselves as women to escape the mobsters. The film is known for its humor, witty dialogue, and iconic performances, especially by Marilyn Monroe. It is considered one of the greatest comedy films of all time and has received critical acclaim for its writing, direction, and performances.
Sounded like Jacob was with us all over again. Jacob had helped us host Samurai Month. And Samurai Month went over pretty well. But also probably like this movie, it's a Criterion movie, so I always reach out to the Criterion Channel Facebook pages and say, hey, if you guys want to listen, check us out. I want to know what you think about this movie, if you think that it's funny.
I do think it is funny. It is a funny movie.
Especially this viewing really made me think that this is probably a movie that the Coen brothers love, because some of the comedy in it just made me think 1,000% of the Coen brothers, especially the mobster characters, like the mobster that gets that drink spilt on him, and like that's how they always introduce him, is from his fucking shoe with the stain on it.
Yeah.
And the feet walking down the corridors.
I don't know why the mobsters are all hilarious, especially the one guy that just like is like straight up a Warner Brothers cartoon character. He's just like buttermilk.
That actually made me think of you. I
love
for some reason.
That guy cracks me up, and then he's like, yeah, they're all like the biggest guys. Like, I mean, not that everyone else in the movie is that tall or that short, but they are like the largest people they could find, and they have the ugliest faces imaginable on all of them, and then they're just like. They're all so ridiculous. They're like, look at these broads. I don't think those broads is broads. They keep talking like that, and it's the most ridiculous thing.
Buttermilk is the best character, though. Like they keep giving him more speaking roles, so I feel like in my mind that he nailed the buttermilk line, and they just kept giving him more lines. They were just like,
he's hilarious. Yeah, keep giving him more lines to say, because he'll say them all funny.
Yeah, he just seems like he's just totally out of character. Well, I wouldn't say out of character, but he doesn't feel like he fits in this movie. He does feel like he's from another universe. All of the gangster characters in this movie are all bizarre, and they're never given a reason for why they're all weird. They all give them some sort of weird thing that goes along with them, like the guy that's got the spats, and that's his nickname, and that's what he's always wearing. And he has that good line of I sleep with my spats on. Like he's just so set on those. And then you have Toothpick Charlie. That's a major plot point, that he's got that toothpick. And then the guy that's the leader of them, which their cover organization is the Friends of Italian Opera, and his name's Little Bonaparte, which is French, so I don't even understand why his name is that. And he's got like a hearing aid device on, which funny.
is never explained, like that's a character thing, that he just has that hearing aid device on.
Is that the guy that's... No, he's not the one that shoots him. I saw that Edward G. Robinson Jr. was in this movie.
Yeah.
And at first I was thinking Edward G. Robinson. I'm like, I think we would know him if we saw him in this. Yeah, because
And
he's like kind of like low in the credits too. In the opening credits, I was like, man, they really buried Edward G. Robinson here. And then I was like, oh, he must be senior. This is his son.
yeah, it's
The
definitely his
original.
child.
Is this like one of the first nepo babies in Hollywood? Like, we're really going back there.
At this time, probably not.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's interesting too because we do have Tony Curtis, who
yeah,
is Jamie Lee Curtis's daddy. I don't know if Jack Lemon's kids. I know they both have kids, obviously.
yeah. Maybe I guess his kids didn't go into acting.
He liked what was it, Walter Matthau.
Yeah,
That
they
that
were
was
best
his kid.
friends. Which like, I don't know, that I think is maybe the strangest thing of watching a movie like this, when like I'm so used to Jack Lemmon from like something like Grumpy Old Men, and like seeing him that young and like actually having a lot of energy to like run around and stuff like that in high
You know what?
heels.
Thinking about it too, they made The Odd Couple 2, which
Yeah.
is like basically a legacy sequel decades after the first movie. So it might be
Yeah.
one of the first.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And this is one of the few movies with Marilyn. I say few movies with Marilyn Monroe because she didn't have a huge career.
Yeah.
I mean, in the movie industry, she was only had a couple years and then passed away.
Yeah.
Passed away pretty young.
There were so many things in this movie that I'm like, is this the first? And my first thought was, is she the first like manic pixie dream girl in a movie? Like, she's so funny and she plays the ukulele. I'm like, oh my God, this is like tropes from like the 2000s indies movies. Like, this is the first one. Like, she's like a goofy character that really, I don't know, it sounds mean, but like really doesn't serve any purpose. She's kind of just used as an object by Tony Curtis. Like, he kind of just like, he takes advantage of her in very morally objectionable ways that again, like you were saying, may not don't always work in modern films. It's very much blown over the fact that he lies to her pretty much throughout the entire film, and she refers to herself very derogatorily many times as just being, I guess I'm just stupid. And it's just that's played as like a joke that, yep, I guess she's just a stupid woman that can't figure anything out. And it's like, that was maybe the part that aged the worst, was that throughout the film she's just constantly referring to herself and having other people refer to her as, she's just a dumb broad.
Mm-hmm. Or she's only interested in people because of their money. Yeah, her character is not very well written.
Yeah,
But I
mean,
think
she's
that she
fine.
can-
Like, she's funny in it. Like, she's funny playing that character. But yeah, the character itself isn't the best.
Well, the thing that you said that really sticks true to me with this movie, which is so odd, is that it feels like it could have been filmed today because the jokes, they don't really hold back. I mean, I know that it wasn't authorized by the motion picture, whatever, the Hays Code. It broke the fucking Hays Code, and it was still successful. So I don't really understand exactly how it was released in theaters if it didn't have a rating on it or whatever, but people
I think
fucking
maybe
went
that was at
crazy
the
for it.
point that theaters just didn't care as much anymore. It wasn't
Yeah,
like it had
and
an X rating or anything like that. They didn't get to that point.
No, and it was like the cross-dressing thing, which is like, yeah, I guess it is kind of probably the first of that because there's a lot of scenes in it. It's like Tootsie and Mrs. Doubtfire, which I'm surprised I didn't end up doing Mrs. Doubtfire for comedy because it's such
real
a great
miss there.
comedy. But some of the scenes are like almost exactly the same, where it's like,
Yeah,
you ripped off my breast, now you ripped off my other breast, and that's literally the exact same comedy that is
Yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire, like 100%.
I mean, and we can't forget this film. Basically, I mean, for most of it, almost beat for beat, is like remade as White Chicks. That's all
Yeah,
I could think the entire time is it's White Chicks. Like the guy that falls in love with Jack Lemmon is Terry Crews. Like, it's 100% that exact same character and scenario where he's like, to generously say very ugly large woman, and this guy's like, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yep, there's always that. I like the big lady, you know?
Yeah.
It does have that vibe. I thought White Chicks too. I think it's because they do that ridiculous, like, their version of female voices that just aren't good, but, they
Yeah.
stick with it because it's funny.
That sound ridiculous.
Yeah, and something about like White Chicks is like by the time White Chicks came out, it was like instantly aged terribly what White Chicks
Yeah.
was. This I think is maybe a little bit more forgiving. I mean, a lot of the scenarios that they end up in are fucking funny. I mean, there's a lot of funny shit in this. Like the one that really in the beginning of the movie when that guy gets kicked out because he's been drinking too much, and then they raid the speakeasy that they're in, and he comes in with the people that are raided, like
Keeps
to
popping
get
up
more to
everywhere,
drink.
and he's like, "I want more coffee.
Yeah, coffee's
You
the
gotta give me
code
more
word.
coffee."
Yeah, that's perfect. Like, aha, I told you I'd get back in. It's like you're coming in with these people.
I don't know. I think like the funniest things for me sometimes are like the most throwaway random things, like when they're coming up with their secret identities, and they're like their names are Joe and Jerry, and they're like, we could be Josephine and Geraldine, and they're like, right, and then they get on the train and she's like, I'm Daphne, and he's like, what was that? She's like, I didn't like the name Geraldine. He's like, you're just completely going off script and coming up with your own name that you like better, that he just comes up with off the top of his head. He's Daphne. And I think at other great moments, like he's when he's mocking Tony Curtis, he's like, yeah, that guy is rich. He's got a yacht. He's even got a bike. It's crazy. And then when he's driving by later, and he's like, oh my God, he does have a bike. It's just such a stupid like throwaway line that he was like making fun of him earlier, and he's just like, oh my God, he does have a bike.
And what's that guy that's like Beanfeld or whatever?
Beanstalk.
Beanstalk. He's so funny where his shit just keeps getting stolen so
Yeah.
that Joe's character can play Tony Curtis can play the like
Shell
millionaire person.
Jr.
Shell Jr.
from the Shell
yeah.
Oil Company.
Exactly. Yeah, it is actually really fucking funny because where do you think that this movie is going to start? It doesn't necessarily start there. Their introduction is great because it takes a while to even get to them where they're just, playing their instruments at the speakeasy and it gets raided. And you almost think they'd be on the run then, but they're not. You get a little bit more downtime where they're like, we need people that are anybody that's looking for a saxophone player and a double bass player. And they're like, yeah, but you'd have to be women. And that's like another comedy trope where it's just so specific. That's why it's funny. Like it's them to a T. But then they witness like this horrendous murder. Like the murder is actually pretty rough to watch where they like line them up against the wall and they gun them all down. And your man Toothpick or whatever, he's still alive. Oh no. Is that I'm thinking of when Spats got shot at the end.
No, yeah, he's alive and he's like trying to get the phone.
I'm like, yeah, how's that guy alive? Like he took like 1,000,000 bullets and he's still somehow there. But yeah, everything is so fucking funny from the fact that they go down to, are they in Florida? They go to Florida and that's where they have the like the mafia convention. They're like, yeah, it just makes sense. There's a mafia convention, which makes me think of the movie The Witches, like the witch convention. Oh man, we showed up at the same time they had the witch convention. Oh, we really fucked up here.
What are the odds?
It gets to the exact humor that Mrs. Doubtfire steals and Tootsie. They're getting rushed, changing between characters. So Joe still has on the long dangly earrings when he's on the boat. And the boat that he doesn't know how to drive. So he's like, there's a malfunction. It's stuck in reverse.
It's an experimental model. We got to go in reverse.
Yeah. And he somehow woos Marilyn Monroe. I mean, I guess I probably have to watch more Marilyn Monroe movies because I think I've only seen the 7-Year Itch and this. I don't know what else what all her big ones are.
I think like the other one that's the most like I don't know, like popular might be like the Misfits. I haven't seen that either, but like that's another one I know that pops up.
I think what I'm surprised with is she does play like a ditzy character, but she doesn't feel stupid. Like you said, her character says numerous times how she is. But I felt like as an actress, she was actually very good.
Yeah.
Just everybody pining for her. I mean, that's another funny thing too, where it's like these two guys that have to pretend to be women are fighting over the woman, and they're like, we can't do this. It's not going to work out. And then it gets funny too when Jerry's character, Jack Lemmon's character, Jerry / Daphne, starts like really enjoying the luxurious life that she's getting from rich men. And she's like, oh, I got this figured out. This is what I'm going to do. And Tony Curtis is like, I don't think it's going to work out. And he's like, why? We're going to get married. He's like, I think there might be some issues with that. He's like, I'll just reveal that I'm a man after the fact.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if you can get married before.
Yeah.
You might have issues right in the beginning with it.
There's great moments. I do love the editing of it going back and forth between Joe and Marilyn that are on the rich guy's yacht while Jerry's supposed to distract them, so they're out like salsa dancing till like 5 a.m. and just like it's cutting back and forth between like their awkward stuff on the boat where she's trying to make him fall in love and he keeps being like, I'm so cold and emotionless, you can't make me love anybody, and then it cuts back to them like just dancing and like they like have the roses in each other's mouth, and then he's like, Daphne, he's like, what? He's like, you're leading again.
Yeah.
Stop leading. I'm the
just
man.
Just continues leading.
Yeah.
I also like the moment too where like when they come back on the boat, they perfectly time that guy's going back to his yacht, leaving.
Yeah.
I think the thing that surprised me the most about the first time that I watched this movie is how these people actually felt like people that I know. And you kind of expect it to feel like old fashioned or something, but like really they do. They feel like they would be the Wedding Crashers or something, like they feel like they would be modern day actors equivalent.
Yeah, I think Billy Wilder's good at that. I feel like a lot of his movies, even his noir movies, don't feel as over the top as something. They don't feel like some. They're not like overly melodramatic and stuff like that. They still feel real.
Or like The Apartment. I really like The Apartment, but it's always advertised as a comedy. I'm like, I don't find that movie funny. I think it's good, but I don't find it funny. It really just makes me think of a drama, and the idea of like renting out your apartment basically for people to hook up there. It's like such a weird it's such a weird dated thing. But maybe they should remake it. I don't know. I mean, not really remake it, but retell it would be good, interesting. Some Like It Hot, the remake. They already did it. It's Mrs. Doubtfire. It exists. Oh, it's White Chicks.
We've already gotten there. Yeah, it's White Chicks. It really is.
Now, I think the thing that I'm interested in all these comedies that we talk about, which we're only doing 3. We're back to 3 because we don't have a guest with us this month. Some comedies, and I think the only ones that are actually like kind of difficult to talk about are the parodies. We bombed very badly in the beginning the first time that we talked about Spaceballs. That was rough, and I don't know if necessarily why I didn't want to talk about comedies again we didn't really talk about them for a while, or our comedies are usually dramedies.
Yeah,
the things that
we've had some funny movies here and there.
Yeah, but what makes them funny, like they're usually not straight up comedy that we're watching. It's just like something about it is just perfectly timed and just makes us lose it. It's like I'm going through The Bear, and the thing I think about the entire time I watch that show is that it's a comedy, and I'm like, how the fuck is this a comedy? It is like, yeah, there are funny moments, but I would say that the dramatic moments way outweigh anything that's funny in that. But we're going to be on a pretty big kick. Is your pick one of your favorite movies? I know we kind of did already discuss probably your favorite from that director. So
yes, this is probably, I would say this is a solid number 2.
It's a solid number 2. That sounds
that sounds
like a joke.
Yeah, we're already getting into the comedy there.
I don't even know if it's because that this movie broke the Hays Code or what it was, but it just feels very modern to me. Besides, some of the jokes, I don't know. It doesn't really like how you said how they start off kind of sexist, but then they start identifying with the women a little bit. Like the humor ends up becoming because they're like, oh, this dress is awful. It's so drafty. Like I don't. Oh, it's cold. I don't want to feel like this. Like, why do I gotta feel like this?
They're like, that guy grabbed me in the elevator. Is that what happens to women all the time?
Yeah, they get to the hotel. The guy like slaps them in the ass, and they're like, "What the?"
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. We didn't even mention the weird bellboy that looks like he's 15.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He has like the giant key ring around his neck, and then he's like. He's so weird. He keeps he's the guy that's going after Josephine, and he's like, don't worry about leaving the door unlocked. I got a key.
I don't remember his name, but
I thought he was like just the bellboy. I don't even know if he has a name.
Oh, I meant in real life. When we worked at
Oh.
Hollywood Video, there was a guy this real tiny, skinny kid, and I thought that he looked like that bellhop guy. And I cannot think of I don't remember what his name was. He worked with us towards the end, but I just like when I looked at him, I'm like, yeah, this, because they bring up his age too. They're like, how old are you? Old enough. And he's got that weird like 1930s gangster voice for some reason.
Yeah, he's got like a ginormous bottle of gin that he's got with him. It's like way too big.
When they're having that argument, and then there's the knock on the door, so they have to like kind of throw on their stuff to their best ability. And he hides under the sheets, and then he comes in with the vodka or whatever. And he's like, I don't have time for this. You're going to have to come back. And it's like, oh, you play, you know? You're playing with me. And then the end, I think the end, it does end on probably one of the funniest lines, too, where the guy's with Daphne, the billionaire guy, and she's like, it's trying to break it off, like, it's not going to work because of this and this and this.
Mm.
And then she gets fed up and takes off the wig, and it's like, I'm a man. It's not going to work out because I'm a man. And he's like, well, we're not all perfect, but he's totally okay with it.
I did
about the
I did
most
enjoy
progressive
that
ending of all time.
Yeah, I did really like the ending. Like yeah, because you're thinking that it's gonna be like that. The guy's gonna be like, oh my god, a woman, but instead he's like, hey, I've been married like 8 times and didn't work out any of those times. I mean, maybe with a guy it'll be fine.
I'm not picky. Yeah. I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work out just fine. Well, there you go. That's Billy Wilder. Like, yeah, that's the thing. It does a good job of balancing some of those things where it's not always making fun of. Like, it's not, I don't think it's extremely offensive, but maybe more to the women, to, like you said, the Marilyn Monroe character, Sugar, who is being like, it's because I'm stupid. And they're like, instead of like, in a more modern thing, they'd be trying to talk her out of being like, you're not stupid. But in this, they're like, yeah, exactly. Like, you can't help that you're stupid.
That's your problem, yeah. Yeah. Is this your favorite Billy Wilder movie?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe comedy, but not as noirs. He's the one that did Double Indemnity, right?
Double Indemnity, Sunset Boulevard.
I think that's my favorite film noir is Double Indemnity. I also really do like Ace in the Hole, which I think was him.
Yeah, that's him.
There's
too.
also William Wyler, and I like to confuse those two for some fucking reason.
It's because their names are close enough.
Yeah, for some reason they're very similar in names, but I do like his body of work, and I do think this is probably the funnier comedy. But yeah, I have Double Indemnity is probably the noir that works the best for me. You know what? Even Sunset Boulevard might even be better, but something with Double Indemnity, it's just like so.
It's like almost the perfect. Like, if you think of film noir, like, I know we when we talked about it before, like, we said, like, you know, the Maltese Falcon and stuff like that comes up, but, like, Double Indemnity is almost a perfect story for film noir, like, and it's, I don't know, yeah, he does really well with it.
What about yours? What's yours?
I like Stalag 17.
Okay. I never saw that.
Movie. It's good. I really like it. It's a good prisoner of war movie. It's fun. It's got a good kind of twist.
Is it more political, like Ace in the Hole?
No, it's closer. It's closer to, like, The Great Escape. His version that's like less action oriented and more talking and more
like making
dialogue
an action
heavy.
movie with like the Wes Anderson action film.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? In this movie, speaking of action, the car chase at the beginning of the movie could have been in the fucking. It actually opens up almost identical to Fast and Furious. There's a heist going on. There's these people getting chased down with a coffin, and then the police show up, and they're literally like. They got hidden guns and shotguns and shit like that, and they're returning fire to the police that are all hanging out of the car, and they're weaving in and out of traffic, and then they end up getting away, but the coffin gets shot, and that's such a cool shot of the liquid pouring out of the coffin, where it's like, what the fuck is in that coffin? And then it's all the alcohol for the speakeasy. But I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good chase scene. I think this movie would be interesting to watch without knowing what you were getting into, because the first 5 minutes don't say comedy at all to me. I would not expect this is going to be like a slapstick comedy at all. I would just think this is going to be some weird film noir. Maybe that's why Billy Wilder is so good.
He knows what you're expecting, and then he changes it.
Tony Curtis only died like 15, 20 years ago or something. Like, he was alive when we were like adults, more or less. But I like him in The Sweet Smell of Success. I think he's pretty fucking great in that movie. And Jack Lemmon, I just always think of like, I just think of him way later in life. Like I think of Grumpy Old Men, like that.
Yeah.
Those are the Jack Lemmon movies for me. But yeah, Walter Matthau. Like I think he would be in this fucking movie if they knew that they had such great chemistry. Because he's basically playing Tony Curtis. No offense, Tony Curtis, because this is a great role. But I think Walter Matthau would have been a better straight man character to be dressing like a woman and doing all this stuff. Like 100% would have loved it.
It feels like he has a funnier voice that he would try to hide because he has like a more scratchy voice and be like, "Wow, your voice is interesting for a woman."
Just be like, "Oh, this is you have something against that." It's very eye-opening, I think, to be going back to some of these older movies and seeing that how well that they actually hold up. I don't have, I guess, very much more to say about this movie other than I do enjoy it a lot. This might be only like the third or fourth time that I've even seen this movie, and it holds up with everything that I already know. Besides, like, yeah, a few dated things with modern. Like, this is definitely like Gen Z would watch this and be like, no, not watching it. Hate this. Do you think this month you're going to be diving into a lot more comedies or no?
I'm gonna try to. I'm try to get some more. I feel like I don't know. Even when I was watching this, I was trying to think of the last time I watched a comedy that like really had me laughing just like uncontrollably. And I mean, you kind of said earlier, like 90s to 2000s is probably where a lot of your favorite comedies are. And I was thinking maybe the first Hangover might be like the last I can remember like watching a movie and just being like, oh my God, that was like the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, and that's already been like 10, 15 years now. That was probably like 2008 or something.
Yeah, it was
08,
2008,
09 or something.
so that probably was the last time. I probably felt that way too, because like, yeah, like Superbad is way up there. Like when I saw that movie, I couldn't even hear half of it because I was laughing so much.
Yeah.
The second viewing felt like it was a completely different cut of the movie. I was hearing like all of the jokes the second time through. But they don't really make those types of comedies anymore. Like this week or 2 weeks ago now, I guess, we got Deadpool and Wolverine, which is as close to the R comedy as we're going to get. But it's a weird, bizarro kind of version of that because we don't get I'm trying to think of the last like R-rated comedy that came out. And there's like nothing... There's literally nothing that I'm not nailing it at all.
Yeah, it feels like more, well, I think that's also a problem of that's not the type of movie that they're trying to put in theaters anymore. Like everything that's going to theaters has to be like either a huge action movie or like a some type of drama or something that's going to win awards. It feels like all of the comedies, like no matter what they are, they're just getting dumped on streaming. Like there's been like a few movies with Aquafina that they've put on like Hulu that keep coming out that are like okay, like I watched them, like they're kind of funny. They've got some good stuff. There was that John Cena movie with like him and Zac Efron that was directed by Peter Farrelly that went like straight to Prime Video or straight to Hulu or something like that. And that was like an R-rated comedy that was like had like that gross out humor that he was known for early in his career. But again, it was like dumped on streaming, like they didn't even want to consider putting it in theaters. So it feels like, I don't know, like I don't want to say comedy's dead, but it's pretty much almost feels like it's exclusively moved to streaming. Like if you're going to get a comedy, it's going to go on Netflix or like everyone enjoyed that show Beef with Stephen Yeun and Ali Wong, but that was straight to Netflix. Like it didn't go to theaters. Like nobody puts big comedy movies in theaters anymore.
Yeah, shit. The funniest things that I'm seeing now are probably like every time that we get a new Jody Hill show.
Yeah.
Another season of Righteous Gemstones is like right up my alley for humor.
Yeah. And that's like, probably the funniest thing. The funniest thing that I see recently is that show. But or like
Larry, yeah,
Hitman was a great. Hitman's a great comedy. It went straight to streaming. A good Richard Linklater comedy movie, and it went straight to streaming. They didn't even give it a chance in theaters. Like it feels anything that goes too. Anything that's comedy, it feels like it has to be something else. Like it has to be comedy action or something like that. Like,
oh, what did I saw? I did see in theaters that I already forget the name of it. Will Ferrell's a dog.
Oh, Strays, I think it was called.
Strays, and Strays like wanted to be that the new
Yeah.
Hangover or something, but it wasn't.
And that's a movie that like
good at all.
bombed. Like yeah, I think they've basically just given up on putting any type of like flat out comedy because it just doesn't seem to they don't seem to do well.
You know what? You know another reason why it doesn't do well is because nothing's in the theater very long. Like you
Yeah.
have like 2 weeks basically to rake in as much money as you can because like I think they said it recently Twisters came out. Twisters came out like 3 or 4 weeks ago now. They talked about how well it did, but they said it like already hit video on demand. So it's like
Yeah.
you don't even give in things that actually do well anytime in the theater. Or
That's
like
why,
some
yeah.
things I don't even think do that well. And it's like, why are you waiting so long to put it out? Like stream that shit already. It bombed, you know?
I know. I was kind of. I mean, it probably signals that it didn't do that well, but I was like kind of surprised that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is already streaming on Hulu, and that was only like 2 months ago that came out.
That took a long time, I feel.
Yeah, I mean maybe
Sometimes
longer than some things, but it still felt like it didn't take that long. I think Furiosa's like you're already able to rent that.
Yeah, you can rent a lot of stuff within like weeks sometimes, but you know, the thing that's probably obviously this year's very bad in the box office because of the strikes in 2023, so there's just not going to be a lot of content at all till probably towards the end of the year, and then it'll get somewhat normal again. Yeah, I just think things need to stay in the theater. Like, I don't know, give it like 2 months or something before you start renting it out to people. I don't, because there was something recently I thought that did well in the box office and they released it on demand in a week, like the week after. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to kill this. You're going to kill all the funding that you would get from, or yeah, like Hitman. Like, how expensive is it to I should look into this. How expensive is it to play a movie like that in theaters for a week or so? Because like now they don't even mail the movies anymore. They download them.
Yeah, it's tough. That's why no one's going to the theater anymore. That's I feel like it's still like I feel like everyone keeps blaming the audience. They're just like, ugh, these stupid people won't go to the movie theaters, and then like you're saying, like people see that they can rent the movie a week after it comes out, and they're like, why would I go to the movie theater?
People do turn out because like Furiosa, I think when Furiosa came out, it bombed, and they're like, nobody wants to go see these movies anymore because they're on demand in like a week or two anyways. And then like Quiet Place came out, I think, and did well, and they're like, movies are back, and I'm like, well, it's clearly not, it doesn't have anything to do with really the release, I guess, because even Deadpool and Wolverine, that's like, I don't know, probably going to be the biggest box office gross of the whole year, I'm going to assume. Yeah, rated R, it's still doing very well. I don't know if kids and shit are like sneaking into that movie. I mean, it's obviously targeted towards kids.
I mean, when I went to see it, there was a lady there with her kid that was definitely like probably 11.
Well, we were at shopping like the last weekend, and I saw like little kids with like Deadpool shirts on. like I don't know how old they were, but they're definitely not adults wearing. Yeah, they love that. They eat that up. And people have been waiting for this for a while. I mean, I guess it's essentially, you know, Alien versus Predator.
That was at least like, I don't know, at least Deadpool's like more comedy, I guess, for some of that stuff. But like when I went to the theater, and like I said, there was a lady there that definitely had like an 11-year-old kid there, and then they played like a red band trailer for Alien Romulus, which is like showing the thing like bursting out of people's chest and like a lot of like really graphic stuff. I was like, that might be a bit much for that kid. I don't know, maybe you can handle the superheroes, but
yeah, I'm excited about that movie. It'll probably
it
bomb.
looks good.
I can't tell.
I guarantee.
Anymore.
I feel like the Aliens name doesn't have the pull to get people to go to the theaters anymore. Like I have a feeling it'll bomb, even though it looks like it's good, and I think that director is good.
The director's good, and I really like that. I forgot her name, Kaylee Spawney or so. She did Civil War. I thought she was really good in that. And I didn't see Priscilla, but she's Priscilla and Priscilla. So I think maybe younger people might be more interested because they went with like a younger cast. But
I don't know. But I feel like all the younger people, when they want horror, they want like A24 level, like something with like weird commentary or something. They're not just like going to see an alien movie. I don't know.
You know, they fucking
I could be
loved,
wrong, but I still.
we're wrong. We're wrong. We're
It
in a
happens.
place where we can't. I mean, it's been happening for years. Something's very successful, and they try to recreate it, and they can't fucking do it. They
Yeah.
can't do it, no matter what. Like I saw Deadpool and Wolverine compared to superhero movie. You know, like scary movie, date movie, superhero
Yeah.
movie, and I'm like, I haven't seen that movie, and I'm sure that a lot of the same shit is in it, but you know what, I just think that maybe these people are a bit fucking funnier than the people that wrote superhero movie. Oh god, I thought Deadpool and Wolverine was fun. Do I think it was like the best made movie? No, but I doubt you'd go to that movie and not laugh.
Yeah.
I'd be fucking surprised. Or maybe you really shouldn't be there. Like, there are people losing it at stuff that I didn't even think was remotely funny. Because I don't like the laugh, ever. I hate it. Yeah, we'll see. I can't even think of any of the, comedies coming out. Like, I saw something the other day where it was about DJ Qualls. Is he Qualls or Qual? He was talking about how in every fucking movie that he's ever been in, they give him something to eat, and he has to really eat it. And he's like, no matter what it is, no matter how much I love it, I hate it by the time that I've had to take, 500 bites of this stupid-ass thing. And they did, a montage of, the new guy and all this other stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot about all these comedies. Or, you're talking Deadpool and Wolverine, Ryan Reynolds' beginning were, the more raunchier comedies like Waiting, Just Friends, Van Wilder, those are all things that I don't even know. They probably didn't age well. I don't necessarily want to be does this age well or does it not age well? Because I'm going to assume that most things just don't age well.
Yeah. Most things just have that problem.
I just what is the thing that feels dated on I think the dialogue and how people speak is one thing. It does something feel dated or not. You watch science fiction from the early 90s and they're talking about computer programming because they're hackers or shit. They sound like they're I'm gonna get into the word processor to do this, and I'm like, it doesn't even fucking make any sense. Who wrote
I'm in the
this?
mainframe.
Yeah.
Just shouting things like that.
I mean, that's what they do. They get it in 2 seconds, but the terminology is so fucking Tron. Yeah, it just feels out of place. It just I got the microprocessor, up and running. It's did you just look at a dictionary about computer parts or something? I don't really understand what was happening. Also, I didn't even see the whole movie. I think I watched just a bit of it. But Free Guy, that's Sean Levy. That's the same guy that did Deadpool. That movie was terrible. That movie was not even remotely funny. So I think whatever's happening in Deadpool, which I'm assuming is just Hugh Jackman, it's working.
Yeah.
Something they did made it work. And that's where we are with comedy. With rom-coms, we're getting some rom-coms again. Those are kind of coming back. But the raunchy stuff, I don't know. Or sometimes it's did you like Booksmart?
Didn't watch it.
Really? I thought that it tried too hard to feel like Superbad or be Superbad. It didn't really.
I felt that just by seeing the trailer for it, which I think is why I didn't bother watching it. It just seemed like it was trying to be a slightly updated version of that.
To the point that even Beanie Feldman is Jonah Hill's sister.
So it's like you literally just replaced Jonah Hill with his sister for that movie. Yeah.
I would even say Olivia Wilde's Don't Worry, Darling was better, and it still wasn't that great. It's not a comedy, though. We're just talking about her filmmaking.
Just in general.
Just in general. Well, she only did 2 movies, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, bring the comedies back. I mean, yeah, because you see people like Vince Vaughn bitching, oh, they don't do the comedies anymore. I'm thinking,
yeah,
I don't know if they really like your humor anymore.
And then
but he was good, and he
was
Larry.
I think Jerry Seinfeld was said that he was another one that it's the same people that keep being it's the woke people. You can't say anything anymore.
Yeah, and Jerry Seinfeld, you made the fucking Pop-Tart movie.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another reason it wasn't funny.
Which again, that was not surprising that went straight to streaming.
No, and I did see a thing online that was really funny where a person said that they had watched that movie 2 years ago and had to sign an NDA so they couldn't talk about it. And then they said the movie came out and they're like, nothing changed. There is nothing different from the movie that I saw to the movie that they put out. So for 2 years, they just sat on this fucking movie for some reason.
Yeah.
I know they were trying to, years ago, they were trying to do a Revenge of the Nerds, and they were actually filming it. It got to production, but they stopped for some reason, and I don't really know everything that happened behind it. Maybe it just sucked. What was that Star Wars movie that we saw that was like, they were going to see episode 1 because their friend had cancer? Fanboys.
Yeah.
That wasn't very good.
It wasn't.
It was like the bare minimum of comedy, and it just failed.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of things that can, we can go to. But yeah, that era of time. I mean, I think my favorite comedy is probably like the earlier Will Ferrell movies. Like, I really like Old School. I do like The Wedding Crashers, all that shit. But the movie that I think is probably the most quotable and like literally seems to get applied to almost every aspect of my fucking life for some reason is Dumb and Dumber. So that's what we're going to be discussing next week.
I'm looking forward to. I had when I was a kid, I had like just a bunch of VHS tapes, and I mean, probably the 4 that I watched the most would have been Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Ace Ventura 1 and 2.
Because you like animals.
Yeah. That's just prime Jim Carrey there.
Dude, we'll definitely get into it, but even like Ace Ventura, I loved Ace Ventura as a kid, and I feel like there was just like one day when I was like, I finally understood the Ray Finkel shit, where like I didn't even get it I must have watched that movie like 10, 15 times. It's because, back in the day, because we're, going to sound really old here. Like you said, you had 4 VHS tapes. So it's like, yeah, that's why you're watching the same thing all the time, because you don't have streaming where just like everything's at your fingertips. You could find it real easily. But yeah, Jim Carrey, he knocks it out of the park. His comedy is great. His drama is probably even better than his comedy. But I don't know.
He's forever Dr. Robotnik. He'll just keep making those until he dies.
He's a good Dr. Robotnik. His Dr. Robotnik though is pretty close to the exact Jim Carrey movies you were describing. Like, it feels like something from The Mask or something. Like, he's a weird goofball slapstick kind of character.
Maybe a little bit of the Cable Guy thrown in there.
What?
Maybe a little bit of the Cable Guy thrown in there.
Oh yeah, the Cable Guy I actually liked a lot as a kid too, and I just think it's funny like how they're like, oh, this movie almost ruined Jim Carrey's career, and I'm like, I don't even think it's that bad of a movie. Like, I'm not gonna say it's not a good movie, but
even that feels like something like that's already dated. Like the what? The Cable Guy. What? He had to come to your house and hook up your cable, because how else were you going to watch TV?
Yeah, he can get you all the channels that you're not supposed to have.
Yeah, he can hook you up with the free channels that you usually got to pay extra for.
And what's that song like? Don't you want somebody?
To love? Like, when he's playing on karaoke. Yeah,
that version, the Jim Carrey version, is the version that's not like in my head when I hear the song.
That movie made me. That movie makes me want to go to Medieval Times. I've still never been there, but that movie, I watched that and I go, Medieval Times looks like the greatest restaurant I've ever seen in my life.
I did go to Medieval Times once, and I think it was because of the fucking Cable Guy. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be.
Because you didn't get to go down and be and get in on the action.
My night was second, but the thing that disappointed me the most, and I don't know if it's changed because it's been a while since I've been to Medieval Times, but they serve you all the food, but we were done with the food. Like, they take the food away from you before the fighting starts. It's like, I want to eat my fucking turkey leg or whatever while this is happening. This is
it's probably like a health violation to be eating while there's like horses running around and spraying dust and dirt everywhere.
Yeah, I basically want Ren Fair, I guess, without, the walking. I don't really know what else would. Yeah, just Ren Fair without the walking and not in the middle of summer and the heat. Like, yeah, that's all I want. And it's staged like wrestling and stuff, so that kind of takes away from it too. But I'm actually pretty excited to finally talk about Dumb and Dumber, because it's just like how many things in that movie come back to. Like, I don't think it's like prophesizing shit like Idiocracy is, but just like IOUs, that's just as good as money. Samsonite, oh, I was so close. So you're saying there's a chance. There's so many things that just like pop up continuously in my life from that movie, and everybody like kind of shit on that movie. Like, this is a comedy. People think this is funny, and it holds up fucking very well. And it's probably the Farley Brothers' best movie, because a lot of their other comedies just don't fucking work.
I don't know. I
Or
think
not nearly.
we can get there. We can talk about their other one. I do always really like. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's theirs too. Is there's something about Mary. That was another
I
one
thought
that I
you were going to
watched
say
a lot
Stuck
when I
on
was a
You.
kid.
You're like, I love Greg Kinnear. Stuck
I
on You is
mean,
like-
I'm not gonna lie. I do really like Stuck on You. That's a funny movie. Come on, Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear stuck together. That's comedy.
Did they do Me, Myself, and Irene, or am I thinking someone else? Because I liked that movie too.
I don't know if that's theirs. I feel like that might be. They have The Ringer too. I always enjoy that. That's another. Speaking of movies that are like not. I don't want to say do not age well, but people like did not like. It had very strong reactions to when it came out. Yeah, you're right. Me, Myself, and Irene is that was the Farrelly Brothers too.
The Ringer, where it's like, we stopped to get ice cream. When the fuck did we
When
get
did we
ice cream?
Yeah, hey, they got some
So
good.
good.
Kingpin. Kingpin's a great Farrelly Brothers movie, but it does start to it does start to go down with.
Three
Honestly,
Stooges?
probably Osmosis Jones is where it starts going downhill. I'm gonna be honest. I forgot they directed that movie.
Yeah, but
Dumb and
then
Dumber,
Peter Farrelly went
Kingpin.
and did,
There's something about Mary and
Green
Me,
Book.
Myself, and Irene, and then Osmosis Jones, Shallow Hal, Stuck on You,
Oh,
Fever
Shallow
Pitch, Hall Pass, The Three Stooges. Yeah, they got
Hal.
a
I don't even know
little.
what the hell they do anymore.
They have a movie called Dear Santa coming out. Well, that's only Bobby Farrelly. Sorry, it's only one of them.
They broke up just like the Coens.
Yeah, they each do their own thing now. Their last co-movie was Dumb and Dumber 2,
Which was
So-
not that good.
which is, yeah, it wasn't as funny as the original, but it was better
Maybe
than
I'll
Dumb
have
and
to-
Dumb.
Maybe I'll have to fit in the prequel and the sequel.
You're gonna have to
again,
fit it
just
all
to
in.
make the original one so much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back next week for that, and I think that'll be interesting. And then I wonder what's the week after that. I don't know. Chuck's
We'll
pick.
see.
Yep, stay tuned. Thanks for listening, everybody.
We are Cinema d'Amore. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with news and information on upcoming episodes. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, Alexa, or iHeartRadio. It would be greatly appreciated if you subscribe to our podcast on your platform of choice. We also appreciate feedback, so rate us, review us, and let us know what you think. And above all else, thank you for listening.